If you're looking to get a bonus or a promotion or a pay rise in your current job, you're going to want to watch this video. It's going to be sharing some of my best tips on how you can ask your boss for a pay rise or a promotion. Hey there, it's Will Vaughan. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because there's more videos coming out each and every week to make you a more successful professional. Alrighty, so like I said in this video, we're going to be talking about how you can ask your boss for a pay rise. So this is one of those topics that I'm really passionate about because it's so easy to sit in a role and stay in a role and just tick along at the same sort of salary when really you could be going through different incremental pay jumps in your salary each year or every 2 years or even every few months, depending on the type of role you work in and also depending on the type of company that you work for and the industry that you work in and how your incentive structure is actually managed. So tip number one for asking your boss for a pay rise or promotion, the key thing to remember here is that when you ask your boss for the pay rise or promotion, all of the heavy lifting should have actually been done long before you ever have that initial conversation. Now, what I mean by that is you want to make getting your pay rise or getting your promotion a foregone conclusion. And what that means is you want to have actually put a lot of steps and measures in place and achieved certain things so that by the time you go to have that conversation about getting a pay rise or a promotion at your performance review, which is typically at the end of the year, either the financial year or the calendar year, depending on how your company works, and you want to have ticked all the boxes and made a really, really clear case about why you should get a pay rise or promotion, and you should have had those expectations lined out with your manager so that when you had that conversation, it's a foregone conclusion and it's going to happen because you've ticked all the boxes that you could control. So tip number one is all about setting it up and pre-framing it. So when you're going through the process with your line manager to set up your KPIs for the year, your development opportunities and your development areas, and all the key goals and projects you need to hit to make your year successful, this is where you want to have a really clear and candid conversation with your line manager to say, look, this is my goal. This is the salary that I'd love to get to. This is the role that I'm gunning for. And I want to work with you to set up a roadmap of how I can get there. And I want to get from the manager, or you should get from your manager, really clear expectations about what that pathway is going to look like. And that way there's no surprises. If you know exactly what you need to do to get to where you want to go, whether it's in terms of salary or in terms of equity options or some sort of other incentive structure or a new role that you're going for, you want to set those really clear and transparent guidelines, guardrails, expectations, whatever you want to call it, with your line manager. You want to understand their criteria of what they're looking for so that you make it as easy as you can for them to make a case for you to their boss about why you should be getting paid more money. So this is a really important thing to remember, right? Because it's not just about you making a great case to your line manager about why you should be paid more or why you should get a certain new role. You need to make a case for them that they can take to their senior directors or their managers or their boss, whoever, and make it easy for them to make the case on your behalf as well. So it's not just about you and your line manager. It's also about making it easy for your line manager to take it to their manager to make the case to HR about why you should be getting paid more or promoted. This is another important area of managing up, which is managing a relationship with the people who are more senior than you in the company. And usually this relates to your line manager because that's the more senior person that you will typically deal with on a weekly basis. You need to understand from them what their expectations are, what their priorities are in their job, what they're gunning for, what their goals are. Because the more that you can understand what their goals are and help them achieve it, that'll make life easier for you. And if you can make your boss look great, they will go out of their way to make you look great as well. And at least that has been my experience in my career so far. So that's tip number one. It's all about understanding and working with your line manager to build a pathway to your next pay rise, to your next bonus, to your next promotion, whatever it is that you are going for in your career in terms of your best next move. Having that really clear and candid conversation to understand the roadmap and the path so that you can go for some very specific and tangible outcomes that are really clear and really simple, really straightforward, and you can go after them over the 12-month period and nail them, hit them out of the park, and get to what you're going for. Tip number two for getting a bonus or a promotion and asking your manager for one is all about once you've had those transparent guidelines and those expectations set at the start of the year, make sure you have really consistent conversations and check-ins with your line manager every month, every quarter to understand, are you still on the right track? Is the pathway that you set up at the start of the year still accurate? Is it still aligned with the business goals? Are you still working on the right projects? Are your KPIs still the right KPIs for you and for what you're going for? And is what you're working on actually going to set you up for getting a bonus or a promotion or a pay rise. You want to make sure throughout the year, you don't just set up your goals at the start of the calendar year or the financial year and then just set and forget. You definitely never want to do that. That is one of the easiest ways to go completely off track. And when it comes down to performance review, you find out that you actually missed key initiatives, you weren't focused on the right things, and you're not going to hit your KPIs and get your bonus or your pay rise. So it's really simple at the start of the year. Once you've firmed up that development plan and your KPIs, just lock in time every quarter with your line manager. Put in 45 minutes to an hour to go through all of your key projects. Check in. Are we still on track? Are we all still aligned on the priorities? And how am I tracking? Do you have any feedback for me along the way? Because again, when it comes to the end of the year, you don't want to have any surprises. You want to have had regular check-ins with your line manager to make sure you're still on track. You're still working on the right things. And again, you want to make you're getting a bonus or a pay rise a foregone conclusion. I'm really obsessed with the idea of creating conditions of inevitability. That is, how can you create an environment where if you do certain things and create certain systems, outcomes are almost inevitable, or at least in terms of the factors that you can control, you're creating as best you can a situation of inevitability. And again, I'm not very focused on outcomes. I'm really focused on how can I create systems and processes and, ways of working that will facilitate great outcomes rather than just focusing on the great outcome itself. Yes, you need the goal, you need to track against it, but how can you put more of your time into all of the things that will enable success of those key outcomes? That's something that I would really recommend focusing on. So tip number 1 is to work with your line manager to work out your pathway to a bonus, promotion, or pay rise. Tip number 2 is all about having regular check-ins, right, with your line manager to make sure you're still on track, you still work on the right things, and you can gather any feedback and course correct along the way. Now, tip number 3 is if you smash your projects, if you deliver a great outcome for the business that has a really tangible improvement in driving efficiency or driving sales and profits, whatever it happens to be, if you have a massive outcome, you should be making a very solid case about why you should be paid more. And this is another reason why it's so important throughout the year to make a list and make a bank of all your great achievements throughout the year, because it's very easy to forget. We often achieve things in our role and then we just move on to the next task, the next project, because all of our roles are never ending and there's always problems and there's always fires. So it's super important that you take responsibility for documenting all the great things that you've done throughout the year and make a list of all those great initiatives and all the great impacts that it had on the business as well. And then you want to take that list and at the end of the year, cherry pick the ones that had the biggest impact on the business and use those as irrefutable evidence about why you are very valuable to the business in terms of your contribution, your impact, your IP, the value that you bring to other teams in terms of knowledge and skill and capability, why that means you should be paid more money. If you deliver a great outcome, and I mean a great outcome for the business, you should be paid more money. These businesses typically, if you work for a large company especially, they make so much money. They make so much money in profit alone, let alone baseline revenue. And businesses need great people. So if you're highly effective in your role, if you can drive a great impact, the business needs you. It doesn't want to have to go out into market and hire some new recruit and train them up, get them skilled, get them embedded in the business, have them learn how the business works, and then they deliver an impact. No, the business would rather retain highly efficient, highly skilled people that can deliver outcome, who understand the business, understand the product, the service, the industry. And if you are that person, and you deliver a great outcome, you should be rewarded handsomely for that. So I also want to encourage you in this video to not be of the mindset of being afraid to ask for more money. The worst thing that can happen is that they say no. That's literally the worst thing that can happen, and you will continue to be paid what you're currently being earned. So there's literally no downside to asking for more money, but you want to make a great case and you want to set up yourself in terms of having the best chance possible to get that pay rise. So that's why I really highly suggest you do all these things in terms of understanding your pathway, documenting all your great achievements, nailing your KPIs and smashing them out of the park and delivering great results for the business, because these things will increase your chances of getting that pay rise or promotion, which can facilitate other great things in your life in terms of travel, spending money on the hobbies and going out with friends and helping family, all that great stuff that's really important, paying off your mortgage, paying off your car, all that sort of stuff. So I'm Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. Hope you found this video helpful, and I wish you all the best of luck in terms of negotiating a pay rise in your role. If you got value from this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Any questions, any feedback, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.